Welcome to April Weekly Wrap-Up number 2. In case you missed my first one, I am doing my wrap-ups a little bit differently. I'm going to do a weekly wrap-up. That way I'm going to talk about all the books I read the previous week, and I'm going to be talking about them in depth, the synopsis, my thoughts, my rating, and all of that. Hopefully that will be easier to film, easier to edit, easier for all you guys to watch it since it will be shorter, and it will be easier to talk about the books since they'll be fresher in my mind. But I still do love doing a tier ranking, least favorite to most favorite, so once all the weekly wrap-ups are posted, I will do a tier ranking of all the books I read that month, and then my favorite quote. And in that video, I won't go over the synopsis or anything like that in detail, because that would be redundant, but I'll just give my reasoning for the ranking in that tier. So hopefully this works for you guys as well. Oh, and in my weekly wrap-ups, what I'll do once I talk about the books I've read, I'll talk about the books I'm planning to read that coming week. And the weekly wrap-ups, I'm going to try to have those up every Wednesday. That way it's weekly wrap-up Wednesday, you know? I love alliteration, I can't help it. This week is a little different because I'm trying to get caught up. And then, like I said, the monthly tier ranking would be up once all of those weekly wrap-ups are posted. And in case you missed any of those wrap-ups, I will have them linked all in the description along with the books that I read for each of those wrap-ups. So that way you're not getting the same information if you happen to watch all the wrap-ups, or if you miss them, you can go back and watch my wrap-ups for full thoughts. So the second week of April, I had plans to read the physical copy of Starved Acre. I did not get to it. However, I put the bookmark in. That counts for something, right? Anyway, I had something really stressful happen on Sunday. No, not Sunday, Monday. It happened on Monday. And it's really just like distracted me and thrown me, and I just couldn't read this. So hopefully I will read this next week, or some other things, or I'll read it at the end of the month. We'll get there. Oh, and just in case you missed the first video, the synopsis. There's a couple who live on some land, and they recently had their young child pass away, and the mother is grieving and going through some pretty weird things, and it involves something spooky with this hare. And then I did read 10 more pages of All's Well by Mona Awad, and this one also the same thing, that really stressful thing that happened. I just couldn't focus on this. So either I'm going to read it this next week or at the end of the month, but we'll get there. And in case you missed my weekly wrap-up number 1, this is following a theater professor who has a chronic pain issue. She's trying to put on the play All's Well That Ends Well, but her students don't want to do that. They want to put on some other Shakespeare play, and so she's battling her pain, battling her own mind, and battling the students. However, there is a book that I started and finished, and that was a thriller that I recently got from Book of the Month, and that is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. And in this, we follow the main character, Evie Porter, only Evie doesn't exist. It's an identity that was given to her by her mysterious boss. She has a boss, she doesn't know who he really is, but she gets sent on jobs. She gets sent all around the country, she's given these identities and a mark. And she doesn't really ever know what the end goal is or even who the client really is. But she gets sent on this one job, and something seems a little bit more off to her. And in this job, she ends up basically getting a boyfriend. And she sees, you know what? Maybe I could have a normal life. Maybe I don't have to have this life where I go around and have marks and don't have my true identity. Maybe I could have a real future. Well, it gets a little risky because she's dealing with some shady people. And shady characters are abundant in this. It is very easy to be suspicious of everyone. This is really fun, fast-paced. I think I read it in a couple days, and I would love to see this as a series or a movie. I think it would be perfect for that. I'm so glad I listened to recommendations and got this book. It was really fun. I don't think I've ever followed a character who had to use different identities in different situations and go in and out and be sneaky, and there's a lot of cat and mouse things going on in this book as well, which made it really interesting. And for a thriller, I would think about this book even when I wasn't reading it, which I think is a really good sign. And my rating, I would say, it's at least a 4-star, maybe even 4.5. I'm still contemplating that. I'll probably know in my monthly tier ranking for sure, but it's a nice short one, 338 pages, and this has some pretty cool twists at the end. So if you're looking for a fast-paced thriller, I do recommend this. So the books I was supposed to read this past week, I didn't get to Starved Acre, as I mentioned. Only read 10 more pages of All's Well, but I did start and finish First lie wins. Oh, and I wanted to share with you a quote, basically explaining what that means. It's not a spoiler or anything, it just gives you some context. There's an old saying, the first lie wins. It's not referring to the little white kind that rumble out with no thought. It refers to the big one, the one that changes the game, the one that is deliberate, the lie that sets the stage for everything that comes after it. And once the lie is told, it's what most people believe to be true. The first lie has to be the strongest, the most important, the one that has to be told. And I'm so glad I remembered to mention that. So, what am I reading this next coming week? That's a good question. I can either finish up these two books, but I had a reading vlog planned, and that will take at least 2 weeks to read these books because there's 2 books and they're both around 700 pages. And that's Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff and the second book, Empire of the Damned. And yes, these are both around 700 pages, but the second book here, they use totally different paper. Not only is it a different color, it's like pure white, and this is more like a tan color. It's thinner paper. So it looks like it might be 500 pages, but no, it's deceiving. That's about 700. So this would take me 2 weeks to read it, which is fine. It's about 100 pages a day. And I know I've told some people that I was planning on doing this vlog, but that's mainly because I had another vlog planned, and I'm gonna have to put that off for at least a week because I need to get some ingredients to make some food. And so I may end up actually reading some other books this coming week, and then the last week of the month do that special vlog. So I'll fill you in on that right now. Special project reading vlog that I had planned also includes cooking a dish, and these are all books by Palestinian authors. I have a lit fic, historical fic, a sci-fi anthology, and poetry, and then I was going to cook a dish from this Palestinian cookbook. Isn't that gorgeous, by the way? So beautiful. The only thing is I need to get ingredients for that, and I can't do that right now. I'll have to wait until the 20th. And Empire of the Vampire, Emperor of the Damned, that's going to take 2 weeks, so it would cut into that. So I think what I may end up doing is I may push Empire of the Vampire and Empire of the Damned sometime in May. Hopefully that will work because I am trying to participate in a readathon that's all month long. It's called Escape the Readathon by Books with Lexi. If I can get a new Discord account, then I can participate in it, and then I will make a TBR video for that readathon as well and give you all the details. So I really do want to do this because I've had this vlog planned much longer than the vampire one. So if I end up doing this, the Palestinian author reading and cooking vlog, the last week of the month, then this next coming week I'll be reading some different books. So this is probably what I'm going to end up doing. I've changed my mind a few times, but I think this is the best way to go about it. So this next coming week I'll read Dragon Fruit by Mickaël Lucier, and this is YA fantasy. And this is a fantasy story based on Pacific Island mythology. Very excited to read this. And then I would love to read The Measure by Nikki Erlich, and this is a sci-fi, but it's a thought-provoking one. And in this, everybody in the world is given a string one day, all of a sudden out of nowhere, and that string indicates how long or short their life will be. It sounds really good. And then also this week, I would like to get to Recursion by Blake Crouch, and this is a sci-fi thriller, and this has to do with memory and maybe not being able to tell reality from fantasy. So yeah, hopefully this next week, these are the 3 I will be reading. So then that way, the next week I'll be reading Palestinian authors and doing a Palestinian dish. And then the last few days of the month, then I'll finish out these 2 books. So I know I said a little bit more than just the 1 week, but I kind of had to explain all the weeks for it to make sense. So anyway, eventually I'll get to the vampire vlog. I really wanted to do that soon because the second one just came out, but like I said, I've had the Palestinian author one planned longer than that, and it's a special project that I really wanted to do because I don't see many people doing something like that, and then also cooking a Palestinian dish, so I think that will be good. And then also this next week I can read a few that I've been anticipating: Dragon Fruit, The Measure, Recursion. So I hope I have a good reading week this next week. I hope you all have a good reading week this next week. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.